lot of people are lucky enough to move to Italy for retirement. I am not one of those people. I am at an awkward age where I'm both too young to retire, but also too old to not be thinking about it at all. Even though where I live in Italy has a much lower cost of living than where I lived in the US, I also make way less money here than I did in the US. Now, I'm not complaining. I do love my lifestyle here, and money isn't everything. But because I'm a freelancer, my income always fluctuates. So if I ever do want to retire, I really have to watch my budget and save as much as possible. So I made this video to share 7 ways that I save money on daily expenses while living like a local as an American in Italy, without having to sacrifice too much of my social life and all of the fun things like food and travel that I want to do. So this video is based, of course, on my experience living here long term, but some of these can be useful to you also, even if you're visiting or plan to spend an extended time here and you don't want to just be spending money right and left like a tourist. The Italian social scene, of course, is based around eating and drinking. So the first topic is how I go out to eat on a budget. If I want to meet up with friends for a meal, it will almost always be lunch instead of dinner. You can usually find a good lunch special for 10 to 15 euros versus a sit-down dinner. It can be 50 or 60 euros if you want to really enjoy every course. If my friends and I want to go out in the evening and have some snacks and some drinks, it will always be for aperitivo versus dinner. So I've said before, between 3 and around 7, it's really hard to find restaurants that are open. The exception to that is some restaurants will open a little bit earlier and serve aperitivo. So this is similar to happy hour in the US. I believe it was started in northern Italy, so it's very, very popular here in Turin and Milan, but pretty much all of Italy has some kind of aperitivo culture. You'll go to a restaurant or a bar, they'll have a special that includes a drink and then some kind of snacks with it. Before COVID, it was more common to have an apericena, which cena is dinner. It would be like a full buffet and you could take what you wanted, get your drink that comes with it, and it would be 10 to 15 euros for the whole thing. And they kind of stopped doing that during the pandemic, but I feel like a lot of the restaurants did not go back to doing the buffet style aperitivo. Instead, they have where you get served at the table. So there might be a bigger platter for the whole table to share, or everyone will get their own small plate. It's usually generous portions enough that you could make it almost a dinner. Even if you're not really in the mood to eat because it's too early or you have dinner plans, usually there will be some drink specials. The other day, my friend and I went to a place that had 2 glasses of wine for 5 euros. It's also a good way to sort of try out a restaurant if you've never been there before. It's a good fun way to support the local restaurants and the community without spending a ton of money. Next, I want to talk about some other budget-friendly forms of entertainment. Another great way to save on entertainment that I found here is by getting a museum pass. Every city in Italy probably has some version of this. So the annual museum pass in Turin includes Valle d'Aosta and the entire region of Piemonte. And if you pay a little bit more, you can also add the whole region of Lombardia as well, which includes Milan and other cities in the next region over. It's a really good deal. I think the museum pass that I got that was just for Turin and Piemonte was only 54 euros for the entire year. So even if you only go to 3 or 4 museums, it pays for itself because some museums are 15, 20 euros. So it's a good way to pay once and keep using that as a way to do something fun and not spend a ton of money. So sometimes in the winter when it's really, really cold, or in the summer when it's really hot, those are both good times to do museums as a little meetup or go on a date or something like that. Even if you're here for a short time, if you want to see all the museums in a week or something, you may look into getting a pass. I'm not sure if you can get one if you're not a resident, but there is some kind of weekly pass or something that you can get where you don't have to pay for each individual museum. If you have this pass, you can also get discounts on other events. Sometimes you can get discounts on theater tickets, a lot of little things throughout the year that you can also get benefits from having this pass. Even if you don't get the museum pass, it's a certain day of the month where not all museums, but some museums are free. If you are going to visit Turin or visit another Italian city, you may want to look and see if there's a day that museums are free, so you can schedule your visit for that day. But you also may want to reserve a time because they'll obviously be more crowded on those days. Even if I don't want to spend any money, there's so much I can do here in Turin. You've seen in some of my other videos, I love to walk around the parks and different neighborhoods. There's always something fun going on that could be free or very low cost. A lot of small towns will have festivals like street fairs, and sometimes they'll be dedicated to a local dish or a specific food. There's a festival every year, or almost every year, that comes to Turin. It's called Terra Madre, and it's all about the slow foods movement. So different farmers and cheesemakers and wineries will come and they'll have little lectures and events, and some of them do cost money and some of them are free. It's nice that there are things like this that you can just go and walk around if you don't want to spend a lot of money and just enjoy what the community has to offer. Next, I want to talk about how I save money when I'm traveling. Most people know that it's way less expensive to travel around Europe than in the US. But there's certain ways that you learn about in how to save money even more than you would, I think, as a tourist if you live here. If I want to take a train to Milan, which is just a few hours away, the fast train, the Frecciarossa, it's way more expensive than taking the regional train, but it can be less expensive the further out you book. If you're taking a regional train, you can book the same day and it will be the same price as 3 months ago. They don't usually sell out. That would be the only issue if you're going on a really popular day. Maybe they're not selling tickets, but I don't know. I've seen some really crowded regional trains where clearly there's more people than seats, so I don't think that they ever sell out. So that's the thing. If I wanted to go to Milan, I can get there on the regional train for $12.75 each direction, and that will take about an hour and 40 minutes. But if I wanted to take the fast train, which is 1 hour, it can be way more expensive the closer I book to it. If I book my travel in advance, the Frecciarossa is a lot closer in price to the regional trains, and you can see there's one that's only €1 more. If you need to get somewhere fast, it saves way more to book in advance. From here to Milan, it's not that big of a difference, but if I wanted to go to Rome, if I take the regional trains, it will be like 6 or 8 hours versus the fast train, which will be 3 or 4 hours. So the further away the distance is, the more likely I would want to take the fast train. So another thing about trains that I've learned is that sometimes there are sales or promotions. So my friend got a deal one time on Black Friday for Trenitalia tickets. I think you paid one price and it was good for a 3-day ticket. So you could go anywhere in the country for 3 consecutive days. But we did go to visit 2 towns that were close to Turin, and we went to Christmas markets. I'm not sure how much she paid for the tickets. I think it was about the price of like 1 round trip ticket. So I've learned to look out for those promotions and deals if I want to travel by train. And also within Turin, as you know, I don't have a car, so I thought I would be using the metro a lot more when I moved further from the city center. And there is a monthly pass, and I think you could pay yearly. So I've calculated how much I actually used it, and I realized I didn't use it enough. So I just buy my daily tickets. If I'm going a bunch of places on one day, I'll buy a daily ticket that's good for as many trips as you want in one day. Also, when you buy tickets on the app or digitally, it's less expensive than buying a ticket from the Tabaccaria or when you buy it from the ticket booth in the metro station. I know it's just a small amount, but I think small amounts add up over time when it comes to saving money. Another thing I've gotten really frugal about spending money on is coffee. So in the US, I used to spend a ridiculous amount on coffee, probably why I don't have a lot of retirement savings. I used to make coffee at home sometimes. I would also drink coffee at work, but when I went out for coffee, I would buy like an oat milk iced latte, sometimes with syrups in it or something. So it would always be like $6 or $7. But I did that fairly often, at least I'd say 5 or 6 times a week. When I added it up one time, I was spending like $150 a month on coffee, which is ridiculous. It wasn't that ridiculous for, I think, the money I was making in the US, but that was just the way it is. And here at cafes, usually I would just get a shot of espresso or a macchiato, and it's usually €1.20. If you're getting a cappuccino, it might be €2. That's not that much when you compare to what I was paying in the US, but it adds up. If I was drinking coffee at a cafe twice a day, every day, then at the end of the month, definitely is not an insignificant amount. And when I'm trying to budget and not spend money, I can't be going to cafes every single day. So I do save that going out to cafes for when I'm being social, when I have friends to meet up with, or if I want to order some kind of unique style of coffee that I can't make myself. As you've seen, I have my espresso machine, so I make my cappuccinos at home. So this is another very common Italian appliance. I'm not going to get into how it works, but it's basically a stovetop espresso maker. It makes, I think, slightly weaker than espresso. I used to use this a lot before I got my espresso machine. I do have some tips for you're going to a coffee shop. This could be useful for anyone even visiting Italy. I'm sure you've heard that a lot of cafes will charge a coperto, which is a cover charge, if you want to drink your coffee at a table. So this is true, I found, mostly in city center and sort of tourist areas and really busier areas where there aren't a lot of tables. If you want to drink at a coffee shop and save money, one option is to, instead of sitting at a table, to just drink your coffee at the bar where there will be no cover charge. You'll just be charged for your coffee. But that's totally fine. That's usually what I do if I am going and having coffee and I'm on my way somewhere really quick. But I found that local coffee shops, like the neighborhood ones, the ones that are not super central, they usually don't charge a coperto to sit down and drink your coffee. So if you want to sit and relax and have coffee, but you don't want to be charged an extra euro or €1.50 just to sit down, take a look at the different cafes. Sometimes I know there are some here in Turin in the city center that don't charge an extra fee to sit down. You just have to find them. Look for the smaller ones, look for ones that seem like they're more family run versus corporate, I guess, and look at the menus because it's always listed on the menu and it will say at the bottom what the cover charge is. I've rarely gone to cafes here where I've had to pay a cover charge. Usually in advance, it's going to be sort of a fancier coffee experience, but generally day to day, I don't see the reason to pay double for your coffee just because you're sitting down. Another thing that I keep a really tight budget for is grocery shopping. So how you save on groceries here, it's pretty much like anywhere. You shop around. I definitely go to different stores for different things, especially when it comes to packaged foods that I know that aren't everywhere, like the vegan cheeses that I get. I know where to find the best prices on those. And international foods, like ingredients that I like to make my own foods. A lot of big grocery stores will have like international food section where they'll have soy sauce and coconut milk. Those are usually the highest markups of any ingredients you'll get. I found a lot of great international markets where I can get quality ingredients and spices and things for lower prices. So I found that there are better prices for fruits and vegetables at the outdoor markets than at the grocery stores. And you'll just find a lot more variety of really fresh fruits and vegetables. But for meats and cheeses, grocery stores have better prices. And a lot of times things will go on sale. In the US, a lot of stores will just throw out meats and fish when it's like close to its expiration date. But here I found they will put stuff on sale at the end of the day. So I buy a lot of my meats and fish on sale. I know that sounds maybe weird, but I've never gotten sick. Usually it's like not even the expiration date, it's like the day before. Expiration dates are kind of made up anyway, but I will buy 2 or 3 of that thing. It will be 30 or 40% off and I will freeze some of it and just cook the rest. And meat is expensive, so that's how I get a lot of savings on my groceries. And also I cook most of my meals, so I save my going out money for when I'm meeting up with friends, but I don't generally go out to eat a lot, and I think that's how I save a lot of money. And last but not least is how I find budget-friendly makeup and skincare. I feel like there aren't as many options for places to get skincare and makeup, especially at a discount here, because we don't have like the Target, the Walmart, like those kind of big giant stores. Instead, there are stores that are just specifically for skincare and makeup, and some of them are pricier than others. So of course we do have Sephora, which I usually go there. I feel like they're just way overpriced. Something that's similar to Sephora is the store called Douglas, if you want like higher end things. I found some really good Italian brands of makeup that I like that are not super expensive, like Kiko, Milano, and Deborah and Wycon are some of my favorites. Usually you'll find, I think, the most high-end skincare at pharmacies. If you need to pop in and get some sunscreen or some kind of like lotion, don't go into a pharmacy because those I think are just the highest prices. They're usually overinflated, or they just have like the high-end super specialty products. So I never get skincare of any kind there. Instead, so I used to go to this place that was right by my house that I loved called Tigota or Tigota. Tigota. Another one that's similar is Acqua e Sapone, means water and soap. They have similar stuff. It's just like cleaning products and paper products, you know, all that stuff, but they also had a good makeup section. They just have a good range of regular and a little bit higher end, a little bit lower end skincare and like hair products. I had trouble finding unscented skincare and face washes and things without a lot of ingredients because my skin is very sensitive. I found this place called DM. It's the most similar to American pharmacies like CVS. There's just a lot of makeup, a lot of hair care, skincare. They have a really good line of sensitive skin products. Sometimes it's hard to translate because DM is a German store, but they also carry a lot of Italian and French products, including this CeraVe dupe, which is about 5 times cheaper than the real thing. They also have like a random food section, so I've gotten some spices there. They have some random like vegan products, and I get some of my non-dairy milks there. So if you're on a really tight budget and you live in Italy, find a DM. I know that was a lot of info, so if there's any categories that you think I missed or that you want me to talk more about, let me know in the comments below. And of course, like and subscribe to my channel if you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.